All right, let's dive into one of the most haunting worlds ever put to paper, George Orwell's 1984. We're going to deconstruct the three core slogans that are really the entire foundation of the party's power. And it all kicks off with some questions that just sound completely wrong.
So, first off, just try to wrap your head around this. How can a state of never-ending, permanent war actually be the thing that creates peace? It makes no sense, right?
And then there's this one. In what possible universe is seeking out your own personal freedom, making your own choices, actually a form of slavery?
And maybe the weirdest of them all, how could a country's power, its actual strength, be built on its citizens knowing absolutely nothing, on them being totally ignorant?
Well, here's the thing. In 1984, these are not just some motivational posters plastered on a wall. They are the literal architecture of control. They're the blueprint for manipulating an entire society, for bending truth itself. To really get this, we need to talk about a specific idea, the paradox. It's a statement that sounds like a complete contradiction, totally impossible. But if you look closer, it might actually hold a kind of dark, twisted truth. And believe me, the party's slogans are absolute masterclasses in this.
Okay, so let's start with the first one. War is peace. We're going to break down exactly how the party uses a war that never, ever ends, not to beat some foreign enemy, but to keep a tight grip on its very own people.
So this is the party's whole game plan. See, the war uses up resources, which keeps everyone poor, hungry, and just too exhausted to even think about rebelling. That scarcity makes them totally dependent on the party for everything. But here's the genius and terrifying part. It creates an enemy to hate. Think about the 2 minutes hate. It's a perfect pressure valve. All that anger and frustration gets aimed at a face on a screen, not at the government. It creates this bizarre unified peace built on pure hatred. And Winston himself figures it out. This quote just lays it bare. The war isn't about victory. It's not about conquering another nation. The real enemy, the real target of the war, has always been the people of Oceania. It's an internal war disguised as an external one.
So if war is how the party controls society from the outside, our next slogan, freedom is slavery, is how they control you from the inside. It's all about crushing the individual spirit. The story of Winston and Julia is the perfect example of how this trap works. They think their secret affair is this huge act of rebellion, They find this little room, their own private sanctuary away from the party's eyes. But the whole thing is a setup. The party was watching them the entire time. Their little taste of freedom was just a bait, designed to lead them straight into a cage where their private world, their very selves, would be completely annihilated.
And this line from O'Brien, it's absolutely chilling. It reveals the party's true goal. They don't just want you to obey, they want to erase you. They will literally squeeze you empty of everything that makes you you, your thoughts, your memories, your love, and then they'll pour the party right back in to fill the void.
And that's the paradox, right there. The party has completely redefined what freedom even means. In their world, real freedom isn't the ability to make choices. It's being free from having to make choices at all. It's freedom from the burden of thinking for yourself. The only true liberation is giving up, completely and totally.
Which brings us to the final and maybe the most critical slogan. This is the one that holds the whole terrifying system together. Ignorance is strength. Because without deliberately destroying knowledge, the other two slogans just couldn't work.
I mean, just look at Winston's job at the so-called Ministry of Truth. His entire day is spent changing old newspapers and records so that the past always matches what the party is saying today. The past becomes a palimpsest, like an old scroll that's been scraped clean and written over again and again. And if the past is always changing, how can you ever prove the party is lying? You can't.
But they go even deeper than that. It's not just about changing documents. They're redesigning the entire language. Old speak, our language, is meant for expression, for nuance, for clarity. But new speak? It's designed for the exact opposite. Its only goal is to restrict thought, to control it by getting rid of the words you would need to even form a rebellious idea.
As Winston's colleague Syme so cheerfully explains, if you don't have a word for something, like, say, freedom, how can you even think about it? The goal is to make thought crime, the act of thinking a rebellious thought, literally impossible. And a population that can't think critically, well, that gives the state unbreakable, absolute strength. So you see, when you put it all together, these aren't three separate ideas. They're all gears in the same horrifying machine, and that machine is designed for one ultimate purpose: to gain total control over reality itself. And this is the party's most terrifying belief. O'Brien tells Winston that there is no objective reality. There's no truth out there. Reality, he says, is only what's inside the human mind. And if the party can control what's in your mind, they control reality. They can make you believe with every fiber of your being that 2 + 2 = 5. So that's the ultimate warning of 1984, isn't it? The party's power is built on a terrifyingly simple idea. If you control the language people use and you constantly erase the past, you destroy the very concept of truth. And in a world where truth doesn't exist, there's absolutely no limit to power.
And that leaves us with a pretty heavy question to think about. Orwell wasn't just writing a scary story. He was giving us a warning. So we have to ask ourselves, what are the slogans, the simple phrases, the truths we take for granted that might be shaping our own reality, right here and right now?